The New York Jets open at 5.5. Last year, they finished 5-12 again, right on the money, Vegas. Aaron Glenn gets a first run at it, and obviously Aaron Rodgers is not going to be there, and you now have Justin Fields. So I'm not even really excited about this, but tell me your floor and your ceiling.
Yeah, it's the Jets, and that's why you're not excited about it, because
the defense got to hold you in there, right?
Yeah, that's really it. It's the New York Jets. They're always a disaster. They're a cursed franchise. They have a meddling owner. What can change? I put on here when I was making my notes and thinking through everything's general thoughts. This is really the question. Can Aaron Glenn redefine Jets culture and identity? That's it.
I'll pause you right there. If he does, he will go down in history books.
100%. I also counter, I think if there's anyone to do it, he's the guy. Like, I really like Aaron Glenn.
I'm a big fan.
I think if he fails, it's not necessarily going to be all on his shoulders in New York. Are they going to get out of his way, let him do what he wants to do? We'll see. Can he turn this team into a dominant defensive team like he did with Detroit? Another question, what do you get out of Justin Fields? Because they have limited talent at wide receiver other than Garrett Wilson. They need Malachi Corley to kind of come on and contribute in year 2. What are realistic expectations for Justin Fields? Tyrod Taylor's the backup, so they've got a reliable quarterback room. I know Justin Fields has a lot of defenders, but his on-the-play field has never really warranted it, Ryan. He is not a stand in the pocket, go through his progressions, deliver the ball on time and on rhythm. That's just not what he is. He looks for his first read, maybe his second, and then he extends with his legs and looks to make plays. There's a reason Tomlin went with Russell Wilson when he got healthy. Mike Tomlin thinks Russell Wilson's a better quarterback. I think we all can accept that, and that's saying something. At this stage in Russell Wilson's career, they never decided to go back to Fields at Pittsburgh. He's just a limited quarterback. He's not going to read the field. He's not going to play quarterback. It's not sustainable. Unless you're able to hold opposing teams to under 20, I don't think Fields is going to pop for you. But they needed a starter. They made a right move getting him. It's a smart move just to establish the position with him and Tyrod Taylor. Corner isn't great. Defensive line isn't as strong as it used to be. They're going to have to adjust to the new coaching scheme. Is Aaron Glenn going to be able to get the most out of the guys like he did in Detroit while managing all the duties that come with being a head coach? Again, it's so different from being a coordinator to being the head coach. And now they're coming to you and being like, hey, they don't have hotel rooms here. Hey, manage this travel. Hey, this guy's wife's sick. Hey, this guy got into a car accident and led the cops on a chase. It's so much more. You know what I mean? You're dealing with everything. Everything comes to you. With that said, prefacing all that, setting up, because that's a lot. There's a lot of stuff going around with New York. The ceiling. They've only won more than 8 games once in the past 14 years.
If that doesn't make you dry heave as a Jets fan, I don't know what will.
Best case scenario, with looking at that statistic and the roster, first-year head coach, best case scenario would be they grind out 7 wins. I mean, and I think Jets fans would be really happy with that. Maybe Aaron Glenn gets the defense to play at a really high level immediately. Maybe he implements a culture change immediately. Maybe Justin Fields is solid and doesn't turn the ball over, and they, build a good foundation for the seasons to come with 7 wins. That's a big ask, but that's the ceiling for them, I think. I think everybody would be happy, Jets fans, if that happened. The floor would be that they're the New York Jets. Justin Fields continues to struggle, and he limits your ability to win any close games. Even when your defense delivers and keeps the game close, can Justin Fields go out there and deliver a game-winning drive? I don't think so. I'm skeptical on that. Maybe once. Maybe Aaron Glenn has trouble transitioning to head coach. We talk about how difficult that is. It's not seamless. There's a lot of bumps along the way. And also, maybe Woody Johnson is still the meddling owner that we know he is, and he continues to be that. And it gets in the way, and Aaron Glenn can't really do his job. This is a franchise that refuses to get out of its own way. So worst case scenario, the floor is they look like they have the past few years and struggle to find 5-6 wins.
Yeah, this is really a fork in the road for the Jets. It's reached that point. Are we going to choose to get out of our own way, like you said, or are we going to revert back to being the same old Jets? And I think it's time for a change, man. And I think bringing in somebody like Aaron Glenn, you said a question in your answer that really defines the entire Jets season is, can Aaron Glenn get the most out of the guys? That's the ceiling. You can put a number on it if you want, but if we watch football for 16, 17 weeks straight And every week, we see Aaron Glenn is getting the most out of his guys with what he has been dealt. Defensively, obviously, we expect that to be great. He's a defensive coach. He needs to keep that good. But offensively, if he can get the most out of Justin Fields and everybody else around him, then we can say that, okay, Aaron Glenn is starting a turn, an about face in the Jets organization. Because for the past 5 years that I've been really watching and we've been doing this podcast, however long it's been, I haven't seen the most out of every Jets player. Have you?
No.
Because I haven't.
No, that absolutely
I've
not.
seen them fall apart several times. So to me, the ceiling's not even about a number. It's about what he's getting out of these guys every single week. And when you look at somebody like Aaron Glenn, the mentors he's had that he's played under and coached under, Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, Dom Capers, Vic Fangio, Mike Zimmer, Sean Payton, Dennis Allen, Dan Campbell, obviously. Like, he's got the resume as far as, like, if you could craft and mold a head coach for a first year, like, who would you want him to be under and be mentored by? Well, you said a bunch of names that I really like.
And we saw him do it with, particularly at the end of the year last year, when everyone on Detroit's defense got injured and they were starting 5 to 6 third-string guys and they were playing good. Like, that's what Aaron Glenn can do.
I think Dan Campbell did a really good job at letting his coordinator, his defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, be the head coach for the defense.
The trick there, though, I agree completely with that, is Dan Campbell went in there and established a culture and an identity immediately from that first press conference when everyone was laughing at him, literally laughing at the guy, being like, oh, biting kneecaps, who's this moron the Lions hired? No, he meant it. The guys bought in. They would die for him. Anytime you hear Dan Campbell talk, I don't play football. I'm like, yes, dude, let's do it. And that's the biggest thing to me. It's like you said, get the most out of the players. I agree. But not just on the field, off the field. Can you get them to buy into a culture? Can you establish that like Dan Campbell did in Detroit? We never thought Detroit would be good in our lifetimes. We never did. And finally, they got a coach. They got out of the way, the owners did, and they let him live through the rough patch, and they're paying off. The Jets have to do the same thing.
Yeah. When you ask the Detroit player, why are they doing something? They say, I don't know, Daddy Dan said to.
Dan said to do it.
Daddy Dan.
That's right.
That's what they have to do with Aaron. And I think that if Aaron learned anything, and what I've heard from the like talks about in the locker room, that he does have that same mentality as Dan Campbell. Obviously, it would be hard to work with somebody like Dan Campbell and not have that same mentality, right? It wouldn't jive well, and he did it for a couple of seasons. So hopefully he's taken that Detroit culture with him to New York. If he doesn't, that is going to be the demise of Aaron Glenn as a head football coach. And look, out of all the head coach changeups here, I would be willing to argue that Aaron Glenn has more riding on his shoulders than anybody else. Because of what he is walking into. He's not walking into an organization that, somewhere like the Patriots that had a really good run and, the Patriots are an iconic team. He's not walking into somebody.
Or even the Bears where you got a young quarterback you can develop.
Right. And it's also the Bears. They're a legacy team. He's walking into the Jets, who have been a laughingstock of the NFL for at least the last 14 years. And honestly, more than that.
Since the 60s, 70s.
So, I think that this is a big step out on the ledge for Aaron Glenn, because if he fails, it looks really bad. Name a lot of head coaches from the New York Jets that are still coaching high-level football to this day.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of opportunities after that.
You sure don't.